Hello and welcome to my Married2Autism channel, where I talk about what it is like being in a relationship with somebody who is on the spectrum. Illness, not theirs, yours. And by yours I mean the person who is caring for the person who is on the spectrum. I don't know if any kind of study has been done yet, and if there hasn't, there needs to be a study done on this particular subject to determine how many partners of those who are caring for people on the spectrum have illnesses, ailments, weakened immune systems, cancer, breathing difficulties, heart difficulties. Of all of the people that I know who are married to somebody who's on the spectrum, all of them have something that is wrong with them, either physically or mentally, or maybe even a blend of both. Cancer seems to be a high up there one. I mean, cancer in general, a lot of people have it. But partners of those on the spectrum tend to get cancer and things like that. Lots of other ailments and things. Again, there needs to be a study. However, in saying that, in general, because this study has been done, in general, married women are far more likely to be unhealthy. They're far more likely to be unhealthy compared to married men who are very well looked after by women, and they are far more likely to be unhealthy and depressed and overweight and all these other things than single women. And sadly, the common denominator there is men. Now, obviously, I'm not saying all men suck. That's not where I'm going with that. However, there does seem to be some sort of interesting phenomena going on in that I think the duty of married women is as such that it makes them unwell. And obviously, you can probably hear right now, I am unwell. I'll get to that in a minute. Because ever since we started owning things, once we settled and we planted crops and we raised farm animals and things, there were certain groups and specific people that got more wealthy and more wealthy until in the end they owned lots of stuff. And then ownership came into play. And ownership included women and children. Now, there may be certain ethnicities and races where ownership didn't always fall to the men, but majority of the history shows that women were owned by men. We became their property, and in becoming their property, we kind of become their slaves, their carers. We have to do what our men want and meet their needs and service them and all of that kind of stuff. And this has played out throughout history. You can see it in Egyptian princesses and European princesses, all the princesses. Like we think princesses have these golden lives, but in actuality they're property. And so even though times are changing and women are less property now, we're still got a long way to go before I think men realise that we're not property and that we're free to be our own individual people and care for ourselves and look after ourselves. And I say that because the study that was done with regards to how married women fare worse than single women, men were in an outrage over that study. It really bothered them to find that out because it really annoys them that women don't want to marry them and don't want to be living with them and in these full-term relationship caring for them situations. I think even though times are changing, there's still a little bit of entitlement, like he's meant to be the ruler of the roost and she's meant to do what she's told, and he's meant to get married and have children and provide, and she's meant to be taking care of him and the house and the children. I think we're still yet to sort of really break that stereotype of what it is that we think women in this world are meant to be doing. And so there's a lot of backlash from men who don't want to change the status quo because it serves them well to have a partner who is looking after them. And so, yeah, the study found that in general, married women were far more unhappy, far more depressed, overweight. And there's these funny little memes like, before marriage, here she is, hot and lovely, looking great, and then after marriage, there she is looking like a slob and a frump and her hair's all messy and blah, blah, blah. And the kind of ownership is on her. It's her fault that she's let herself go, as opposed to the fact that she's had dozens of children and she's doing all the housework and she's getting no help and blah, 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 blah. You can picture the rest, right? And so in my case, my husband has had definitely more opportunities to keep himself fit and healthy and well. He has a gym at work and he goes to gym when he's not at work, so he's always at the gym. Whereas I was the primary care of the children, which meant that I was tied to them. There was not a lot of opportunity for me to go out and physically take care of myself. I did my best. I rode, I danced, I took classes. I did all manner of things when I could to try to stay a semblance of fit and healthy, but it was very difficult because hubby works away and I had no one to mind the children. And like even as teens, I had a friend say to me, do you want to go out on this particular night? And I said to her, I can't, I don't have a babysitter. And my children were teens. She was like really confused. She was like, what? They're teenagers, can't they look after themselves? No. No, not when one of your children has special needs, and that causes all manner of problems for the other children. It was not like you could leave them alone and, think they're going to be safe. They may be safe, but I didn't want to take that risk. And so on top of that, we've obviously had our food battle, which I made a video about, where husband is an over-provider. He provides way too much food and way too much junk food, and we all don't have the luxury of getting out and about to gyms and such like he does, so we're slowly getting unwell while he's fit and fine and just works it all off. And no amount of talking to him has resolved that issue. He just continually will bring junk food into the house and not a care in the world, boundaries breaking. And speaking of boundaries breaking, hence, if we get back to me not feeling well today, I suddenly have asthma. And when I say suddenly, it's like since COVID lockdown ended, so past 3 odd years, I suddenly have asthma. I never had asthma. My entire life I never had asthma. I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I've seen a professionalist, specialist, he's telling me, do this and do that, take these puffs and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no clue. And we have pups. The boys wanted pups. So we got them some puppies. And as adorable and delightful as these puppies are, if I go near them, my asthma flares up. And so I've been asking hubby to keep them out of my space and mostly outside, so that the house isn't filled with puppy dander and making me cough my guts out. And of course he's like, in one ear and out, how's your mother, as my brother says. What, puppies outside? Yeah, no, they're coming inside, bad luck Donald Duck. So I'm like struggle central, trying to deal with these puppies and him and keep them away from me. And I've had these several asthma attacks, just ridiculous. And because he doesn't have anything like that, he just doesn't care, he doesn't think. Even the other day we had another conversation about it, and I said to him, mate, he's trying to kill me, he's trying to give me asthma attacks so that I can die, Obviously I'm joking. And he said something about he feels sorry for the dogs, and I'm like, yes, but surely I'm more important, you know, like my health is more important than these cutie booty doggies and having them inside. And we've got a nice little snug for them outside, a really lovely warm area. It's not like they're freezing out there or anything. It's not like it's animal cruelty. Lots of dogs spend their lives outside, but he just won't keep them away from me. So we're having that battle at the moment. Oh, so yeah, them and illness. I mean, aside from that, aside from my situation, many other people in these situations are stressed, anxious, overwhelmed. They're doing majority of the work, paying the bills, taking the children here and there, going shopping, doing the clothes, doing the washing, doing the housework, doing everything, while their autistic partner does not so much because they're unable to cope with life. And obviously that's not all autistic men, because in my case my husband does a fair whack of stuff. But it is still up to me to do the lion's share of things. For example, I joined a gym, bit of a story. I joined a gym and I ended up hurting my shoulders, right? So now I can't lift them very well, can't use my arms very well. And so I said to hubby, I need you to change the doona covers because I can't do it anymore. It took him 5 months. 5 months. And he says to me, you need to change the doona, it's starting to stink. And I'm like, really? Do I? And I said to him, don't you remember that we had this conversation and I asked you to do it because I can't? And then he did it a couple of days later. And it's the same with the shower. I can no longer really get in there with the, you know, the cleaner, scrubbing the tiles. I no longer have the sort of upper body strength. And so I said to him, I need you to clean the shower. Again, several months later. So even though he does a fair bit, like shopping and school clothes and bits and pieces, there are things that he doesn't do, or doesn't do often enough, or doesn't do well. Prioritises his special interests, which is hiking and camping. So again, keeping himself lovely and fit, whilst, you know, the rest of the sort of things get not done in the house. So yeah, I'd really like to know how many people who are married to somebody on the spectrum are struggling with something illness related. I would hazard a guess that at least 99% of them are. But in saying that, since married women in general are suffering, how would you know which of them are like, you're struggling because your partner's autistic, or you're struggling because you're married to a guy, you know? And is it different in, say, lesbian couples where it's two females and maybe like it's less stressful? And in saying that, like a lesbian couple where the person is on the spectrum, is it less stressful? So many questions. So few studies. We really need to learn more, don't we? Anyway, that's it for me today. Over to you. Leave a comment below. Are you struggling with illnesses? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it.